9. You're very welcome back to the programme. Delighted to welcome on to it now Sean Hillen, foreign correspondent for the Irish Times. Good morning to you, Sean. How are you?
Good morning, Greg. I'm very well. I'm very happy. When you last had me on the show the day of the US elections, I did predict that by Inauguration Day, the Democrats would control the House of Representatives, the Senate, and the White House. It was a closer call than I thought, but I'm delighted my prediction was right.
Yes, and fair play to you, but you've plenty of experience to draw on as well. I'll give you a 7 out of 10 because you did, you've got experience. We'd expect you to be able to use that knowledge and experience to your advantage, Sean, against mere mortals like myself.
Well, I wish I was a betting man. I might have made a little bit of money because I also predicted, and it's in my blog, that Pat the Cope Gallagher would probably lose his seat and Sinn Féin would probably gain 30-odd seats in the last Irish election. So I should really place a bet somewhere on these things.
Come what was the significance of yesterday? I mean, in a way, it passed off as you would hope anything would. No one wants to see any disruption or any violence, but given everything that led up to it, there was just a particular normality to it.
Yes, I think there's millions of people in the United States, both Democrats and Republicans, who are relieved that it went over peacefully. It was a strange situation to see so few people there around the Capitol for the swearing in. It was even stranger if you stayed up late last night to watch the music concert and performances because the boss, Springsteen, was singing before a completely empty audience. It was a little bizarre. But at least it went off peacefully, and maybe that's a good sign for the future.
What can Biden and his team, President Biden and his team, achieve in his first term? There's an awful lot to be done there, isn't there? I mean, there's an awful lot of bridges to be built, and by simply reversing certain decisions that Donald Trump had made, it doesn't really work that simply. There are bridges that have to be built, relationships that have to be repaired.
Yes, I think it is going to be challenging, but those two vital Senate seats in Georgia, giving Democrats with Kamala Harris's vote in Senate, they can pass legislation a little easier. They can fill federal court positions. In fact, even on the Supreme Court, there's a Supreme Court judge who is in his 80s, and I'm sure there's behind-the-scene lobbying for him to retire within the next year so they can put a younger person who would be more liberal in outlook and less conservative. So there's also the executive orders, as you know, 17 executive orders, which is the same as federal law. Roosevelt passed thousands of them, but that was during the Second World War. Even Barack Obama had to pass a lot of executive orders because he didn't control the Senate, and the Republicans paralyzed any legislation, preventing it going through.
Now, I mean, they almost went out of the way yesterday to show that this will be, a more liberal and certainly a more diverse White House. Does that begin the process of healing this almost 50% political rift in the United States, or does it widen that divide further?
I think yesterday was the easy part. It was the end of the beginning. But I fear party politics, partisanship, is going to begin immediately. I think that the Republican House members that voted to, in effect, stop the steal, as they called it, is a sign of what's ahead. Even though there is a free vote on the potential impeachment of Donald Trump, I couldn't see a majority of Republicans impeaching him. I think they're now setting up their stalls, and it's going to be very, very difficult. I'm just delighted that they control all three houses, that he can pass executive orders, that he can put someone on the Supreme Court, and that he's already got off to a great start. 17 executive orders, 2 press conferences yesterday. There's hardly been any press conferences under Trump. The media have been kept well informed. There's a lot more transparency. And of course, as you know from your news report earlier, he's already tackling the pandemic, a federal mask mandate, climate change, rejoined the Paris Accord, immigration. There's 11 million undocumented immigrants, some of them Irish, and they are at least going to have the chance for citizenship. The border wall is stopped, and the Keystone pipeline from Canada to Nebraska, 1,200 miles of it is cancelled.
I mean, he's undoing some of Trump's marquee things, you know, the wall. I mean, that is hugely significant to be stalling progress in that. It'll be interesting to see, too, what his approach is or what leeway he has in the Israel-Palestine situation.
Yes, I mean, if some credit is to be given to Trump, and I'm reluctant to do that, it is the peace accord that he created in the Middle East. Not that it may not have happened under Joe Biden. He's very experienced in foreign policy, and he wants to re-engage with the rest of the world, which, of course, Trump didn't want to. But it is going to be a tough road ahead for him, I think. But there's a lot of firsts. I mean, the highest ranking woman in U.S. history, the Vice President Kamala Harris, ethnically mixed background, the first gay person in the cabinet. So there's a lot of firsts already.
Well, certainly the first openly gay person in the cabinet. Stay with me, Sean. I want to introduce Joe Blewett. His dad's the third cousin of Joe Biden. Good morning to you, Joe. Sorry, Joe, I have your wrong fader. Good morning to you, Joe.
Good morning. How's it going?
I am good. Watching on, obviously, with interest yesterday.
Yes, we had a great day yesterday. Very proud day for us yesterday to see Joe being sworn in as the 46th president.
He's very proud. He's very proud of his Irish roots, isn't he? And not just sort of, you know, playing lip service as we approach March 17th. Consistently over the years, he's talked of the importance of his Irish heritage, his Irish family, and the importance of this country to him.
Yeah, well, as his granny told him, the most important bit of blood in him was the Irish blood.
And I mean, it's a tenuous enough relationship, Sean, but I suppose that's, you know, that's what we do. But we're not claiming this president because, as I said to his cousin there, you know, Joe Biden's very proud of those connections himself. We don't really have much spade work to do in that regard.
No, and if you recall from his speech yesterday, he's a big fan of Seamus Heaney. He quoted Seamus Heaney's poetry. And last night at the celebratory performances, a complete poem of Seamus Heaney's was read out. So I wouldn't be surprised. In fact, I'd be shocked if Joe Biden doesn't come next year, because he does have a strong connection and really does love Ireland, and that he goes both north and south of the border.
My appetite for poetry being quoted has been reduced greatly thanks to Taoiseach, Micheál Martin and Leo Varadkar and their lockdown announcements. So maybe by the time Joe Biden arrives, I will have built up some sort of desire to hear it again, you know.
Well, I have a soft spot for the Seamus Heaney because I've been there twice in the last 2 years to host some international events. So I do hope Joe goes north of the border. One other point I wanted to make, actually, it leads into your news piece. Very interesting. Did you know that the President of the United States, or should I put it this way, that Ryan Tubridy earns more in salary than the President of the United States of America? Now, is that utterly ridiculous? Those salaries you read out, Greg, make me weep. I mean, the only person I know, the only broadcaster I know in Ireland who makes more than Ryan Tubridy is probably yourself. But I like you. You're good. I'm not a great fan of Ryan's.
Oh, my word. If only. Can you imagine? And, you know, the funny thing is, Sean, and I understand it, but people look at the wages that RTE stars get, and they actually think that there is even almost like a percentage of it would be paid at my little level, but unfortunately that is not the case. But hey, I remember back in the day, Sean, the argument used to be we have to pay these guys this money, because if we don't, News Talk or Ireland, what was it called, Ireland FM or whatever it might be called, or the BBC, or US networks were waiting in the wings to steal away our brightest talent. I don't think it's ever happened. I don't think anyone's been poached. Maybe RT poached Ray Darcy back from Today FM. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but that it can't be used as a justification for these wages.
Not at all. I mean, $400,000, which is what, 300,000 euro, is what the President of the United States, with all the pressure and stress that he or she comes under every single day, and we have someone on the air that before Christmas does a toy program. I mean, I don't want to undercut the man too much, but that is way too much money, especially when there's so little money for healthcare and education and cutbacks here and there throughout Ireland.
Yeah, I mean, and, I didn't know we were going to be talking about this, but whilst we are, just to put it into a little bit of context here, a nurse gets 33,390. That's the average salary there. A Garda in year one, 32,000. A teacher, 33,000 euro. And someone working on the front line in retail, as they have from right the very beginning of this, on average, pulls in around 22,000 euro per year.
It reminds me of the parallel between a Premiership soccer player kicking a round object around and earning hundreds of times more than a brain surgeon.
Yes, but a Premiership footballer, he sells shirts. A Premiership footballer fills the stadium. There's a bit of bang for your buck there. RTE loses multiple millions of euro every single year. But your analogy, other than that, is spot on as always. Sean, thank you very much. I would pay you 500,000 euros simply for this one Zoom. That's how much I enjoyed it. Thank you.
You're welcome, Greg, anytime. Thanks very much for having me on.
It's my pleasure, Sean. Thank you very much indeed, and enjoy the rest of your day. Sean Hillen there, and I'm sure we'll be speaking to Sean in the not too distant future. That's Sean Hillen, who's a foreign correspondent for the Irish Times. 086 60 25,000.